Francesca. Francesca, buenos días.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hi, good morning.
¿Qué tal? Buenos días. Francesca y yo tenemos un problema. Yo no hablo inglés, ella no habla español. Y por eso le pedí a Elsa que me ayudara a presentarla, sobre todo porque ellas sí se conocen. Yo brevemente, Francesca, es un honor y un placer que estés aquí con nosotros. ¿Vale?
It's a pleasure for me. Thank you for inviting me.
Bien. El año pasado, en la primera edición, ya te quise traer a Córdoba y no pudo ser. Bien. Brevemente, hablar, para quien no conozca a Francesca, que dudo que haya alguien que no la conozca, sobre todo dentro del contexto. Francesca es la historia viva del food design de estos últimos 15 años, fácilmente. Una pionera en el, digamos, en racionalizar un poco todo. Yo, de hecho, hace un año y medio me encontré la categoría Food Design, fue porque empecé a conocer su postulado, su metodología Food Design Thinking. Y vi que había alguien que intentaba racionalizar un poco todo el contexto de todo lo que pasaba ahí. Al usar una metodología de diseño más o menos habitual en mis propios planteamientos de trabajo, como es Design Thinking, puro y duro, metodología de diseño centrado en el usuario, y es lo que realmente a mí me llamó la atención y empecé un poco a investigar. No voy a contar nada de Francesca. Quien quiera conocer a Francesca, hay una ingente cantidad de literatura alrededor de Francesca. No sé si Elsa quiere comentar algo al respecto para darle ya entrada a Francesca directamente.
Pues Antonio, sinceramente, me había preparado la charla para presentarla esta tarde y no me había preparado nada para ahora. Yo creo que la presentación general de ella ya lo has dicho, para mí también es una gran referente y de hecho tuve la oportunidad de conocerla en Madrid hace muy poquito. Yo creo que no hace falta presentación. Francesca, come on.
Yes, no problem. I understood probably like 80% of what you said. I think that's good enough for somebody who doesn't speak Spanish. Luckily, you know, Italian is quite similar. So thank you again for this introduction, but thank you for inviting me here today. I'm very pleased to be here and honored to be here. So without further ado, I am going to go straight into my presentation and hopefully I will make it by 11. We'll see what I can do. So I'm going to just share my screen. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about food design thinking. As Antonio said, food design thinking is basically what I'm doing right now. I spent a lot of time, a lot of my, of the years that I've been within the food design discipline trying to understand what food design is, but really the core of my research interest has always been design theory applied to food design. And in other words, it became in the latest years, how do food designers design? And is it different from how other designers design? And food design thinking is really the result of all of this thinking. So I'm going to give you a few core concepts within food design thinking. Very slowly, I'm also going to tell you what it actually is. But before I get there, I always like to start giving a little definition of the way I think of food design. So when you hear me talking about food design within the context of food design thinking, you know exactly what I talk about. Let's see if I can put this down. Give me a second. Yes, no, there, okay. Okay, so food design for me is, first of all, is a design process. Food design is not an outcome. For me, food design is a process, is what food designers do. So if you think about what designers do, and in our case, what food designers do, we start from a place where we can have little or no idea what we are going to design. And we end up in a place where our product is on the shelves, or our food service opens its doors. Well, food design to me, it's all of this. It's the entire process of things happening. And food design is also a process that leads to some type of innovation on anything that has to do on food and eating, like dishes, food products, food services, food events, and food systems. But for me, the key word here is innovation. I don't think we can talk about food design if there isn't some type of improvement to people's lives or to the planet. And another way to look at food design for me, just another definition that I want to give you to have an idea, to just remark on how comprehensive the word food design is that it intervenes in the production, procurement, preservation, transportation, preparation, presentation, consumption, and disposal of food. And I know this view is shared by many of the panelists in this very exciting event. And I just want to reiterate that this is how I view food design. So when I talk about it, you know where I stand. This is the visualization of the food design discipline that I've created in the past few years, in the past, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And you can find these on my YouTube channel or whatever, on my school, on my things, and you can find the whole explanation. I won't go in depth into it, firstly, because this audience is already educated on the basis of food design. And then because I don't have time and I want to talk about food design thinking. But I just wanted to show it to you to give you a sense of how I see the different food design subdisciplines interlocking with one another. And this visualization to me represent something that is very critical within food design, which is the connection between different food designers and different people within food design that have different skills. So what is food design thinking? Well, first of all, we can say that food design thinking is a food specific design thinking process. I'm sure you have, many of you might have heard of the term design thinking. And this is the creative process that designers have been using for the past maybe 20, 30 years. And now it has spread out to many disciplines outside of design. Law firms use it, school teachers use it to design their curriculum, etc. So it's always used when somebody wants to solve a problem or create a new proposition, being attentive to the needs of people, those for whom we are designing. Well, food design thinking is a food-specific design thinking process. And how do I see it within food design? Well, if all of this is food design, and we saw it before, food design thinking is the part that goes from having no idea what you're going to design to having a final concept that is very well defined and very well detailed. Now, the word food design, the term food design thinking is used a little bit outside, in the world. I don't have copyright of these words, and I wouldn't want to have them. I just want to iterate that what I'm going to present to you is how I use the term food design thinking, is what I have created using the words food design thinking. What you can find on the internet, on the vast world of the internet, are also other view on the use of this term. So food design thinking is a creative process used by or designed for food designers or anybody operating within the food design discipline. As many design thinking processes, it is divided in different phases. For me, it was 6 different phases. And at the moment, it counts 52 different methods. And you can see them here going into this, through these lines. 52 different methods divided into the different phases. Basically, this is what I propose and what I give to individuals and companies who want to come up with new ideas within the food design discipline. And as we saw before, anybody who wants, because of the definition of food design that I have, food design thinking is for anybody who wants to design dishes or products or food services or events or food systems, etc. Why is it unique though? Why does it make sense? Of course, for me. Why did I bother creating a food-specific design thinking process, not just because of its food specificity, but for a few other things as well. So what makes it unique? First of all, the way I've designed this process, and specifically the way I've designed many of these methods within food design thinking, is because of sustainability. Again, another view that thankfully is very much shared by many of the panelists of this event. Which means that within this process, I am trying to guide food designers to design for sustainability, to create sustainable outcome. And I want to just make sure that we all are on the same page with regards to the definition of sustainability, reminding us that when we talk about sustainability, we talk about three parts. Indeed, it is environmental sustainability first, economic sustainability, and then social sustainability. So every time you use this word, sustainability, we include all three of these parts. And I want to spend a moment talking about social sustainability because me, as many others, I feel that it is the part of sustainability that it is less often considered, less often talked about, and definitely less often designed for. Just a couple of examples to give you an idea of what is possible. And there are many examples like this, but these are just a couple. This is Café Momentum by a chef, I forget his name, Jeff, sorry, I forgot his name. But basically what he did, he was employing only disadvantaged youth. So all his employees are disadvantaged youth. And this is, you know, he still has a regular restaurant with a regular, very good food, but he wants to, the core of his business is this aim towards social sustainability. Another example, just because I've been there, this is a restaurant called Lentil as Anything in Sydney, Australia. And the concept here is that you pay based on what you can afford to pay. So for the whatever meal, for the same meal that everybody gets, there are a few choices, of course. You can either pay this much or that much, and if you can't, you pay you don't pay anything. The goal of the trigger in this concept is that you're not paying for the food you're eating, you're paying for the food that somebody else will be eating after you. And if somebody cannot afford to pay, they can still have a plate of food. And then I also wanted to give you another simple example. This is Good Spread. It's a peanut butter brand. This company makes peanut butters, and for every jar they sell, they produce one manna, which is a little packet of fortified peanut butter that is delivered to children who suffer from malnutrition. So it's fortified with all sorts of minerals and good things. So what is happening here? The core of the company is not we make profit with peanut butter and okay, let's work a little bit on social sustainability also, and with a portion of our profit, we create manna. It's not like that. The core of the company is we want to create something that helps malnourished children. What do we do? Okay, let's make a peanut butter jar that we can sell regularly, and with a lot of the profit, we can do that. So you see there is a shift from economic sustainability as the main goal to social sustainability as the main goal. And this is happening more and more. The beautiful thing about this visualization here of sustainability and given to us by Professor Elena Cavagnaro is how she makes us think about this little shift. So basically, when we talk about economic sustainability, when we design for profit, if I design for profit, I am caring for me. If I design for social sustainability, I am caring for me and you. And if I design for environmental sustainability, I care for all. And as with the example that we just saw, we see that what is happening in society, and as I was talking about this a little bit as well, there is a shift happening from me to us. A shift from designing with me in mind first to design for us all. A shift from what is best for the individual to what is best for society. This, I think, is the number one thing that has to happen inside every human being, even more so inside every food designer, inside every designer, if we want to change something around here. We can talk about, yes, let's design for sustainability. These are tools to design for sustainability. This is, let's do this and let's do that. But I think that until that shift, the internal shift doesn't happen, until there isn't a will and interest in changing my ultimate goal, us instead of me, we cannot obtain the goals that we want to obtain in terms of sustainability, really, in terms of, you know, community, in terms of making the life of on this planet on this planet a little better. And this shift is happening, and we are seeing it more and more. And definitely it is something that food design thinking, once this shift is happening, it is something that, sorry, I have 2 dogs and I don't know how to put them outside anymore. Okay, sorry. The other thing that food design thinking can help you design for is systems, food systems, which are embedded in wanting to design for sustainability, really. If you talk about designing for sustainability, then at some point you end up designing for systems. So just a quick example, what is a system? Let's talk about, let's say that you want to design a sandwich. So you have a BLT here, a very common sandwich in the UK, a BLT, bacon, lettuce, tomato. You can either sit down, and let's say the BLT doesn't exist. You can either sit down and design a BLT, or you can start thinking about, and you can start making choices on where does the bread come from? Where does the flour come from? Where do the tomato come from? How much do they travel? How were they grown? What energy was used, etc. And so we are shifting our focus from designing the product, the sandwich, to, okay, let's make choices that have an impact on the system. So this is just a little image to show you that the complexity that systems bring with them, because, you know, when we start talking about everything, we can spread out more and more, and we can really create, we can really see and design for complex systems. When it comes to designing for systems, then I think that one important thing that happens is that we start talking about circularity, which is also embedded in wanting to design for environmental sustainability. And this is my model for the circular food economy. It is based on the circular economy model by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, but I have changed the visualization a little bit, added a few things, and made it a bit more immediate for people in the food industry. And I won't go into detail with this. And if you are interested, there is a big article on my website, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. And this is really a tool that I think is extremely useful for designers, really, for designers in general, and for designers indeed. But what I think the number one reason why I think that thinking in terms of circularity and just maybe visualizing, having this in front of you while you are designing, is that not only you start thinking in terms of, okay, I want to create zero waste, so let me make decisions now that I'm designing the product, let's say, on how my waste, the waste from the product that I produce, are gonna go into the circle, into the system, into the economy. So we shift from waste to resource. But also, and maybe most importantly, or as importantly, let me now start thinking in terms of where do I want my resource to come from? So I have to make something made of paper. What paper am I going to use? Do I want something that has already been in the cycle, in the system, in the circular economy, or do I want something virgin that comes from virgin materials, so freshly cut trees, etc. And you can do the same with every material, both inorganic and organic. The other thing that is quite unique in terms of food design thinking of this process that I've created is empathy. Now, the concept of empathy and designing for empathy is not new in design, thanks to design thinking specifically. But I think I have given to food design thinking a little step further. So if you look at the process, at the food design thinking process, but if we focus on the explore and evaluate phases, which are the two phases where we explore, where we gather information and we create new information, and where we analyze this information, we make sense of them. The outcome then will be used to generate ideas in the envision phase. If we look at these two phases specifically, I have put these methods that you see listed there in a very specific sequence that brings the food designer through different layers of empathy. So with the first layers, we explore the field, and then we go to experts to find information, to create knowledge. I am experiencing, food designer, am experiencing cognitive empathy, which means that I am understanding what other people feel, what other people think, and what they feel. When I go to the community level, and then even smaller, when I go to groups of people to interact with them and find information, then I experience emotional empathy. So not only I understand what people think and feel, but I feel in myself. I start feeling how other people feel. But when I go to the last two layers, the individual layers, and then I use methods that make me in the position of the target user that I'm investigating, there I experience compassionate empathy, which means that not only I understand what other people feel, not only I feel what they feel, but I've become so invested in the issue, so embedded in the context that I am investigating, that I become moved to help. I believe that only when we reach this level of empathy, we can really design for change. And nowadays, with the world that is filled with stuff, I argue that we should only design reaching that level of empathy so that we make sure, as much as possible, we try as much as possible to design objects, systems, services, events, to design propositions that are there to help. And that is the maximum level of positive impact that you can have on this planet. The other thing that food design thinking does, let me check on time. Okay, not time at all, is to design for meanings. So I will try and go quickly here. I've always argued throughout my studies and my career, if we have to design anything, let's design something meaningful. Instead of putting out there another restaurant with nothing to say, another bottle of water, because this bottle of water has, I don't know, something in it, or another whatever, we should design something that is instead meaningful and valuable to people, that brings what we talked about, innovation before, to people's lives or to the planet. And again, luckily this view is shared by many of the panelists in this beautiful event. In this talk about let's design for meanings that I was giving to my clients, to my students, I realized that I didn't quite understand well enough the word meaning and what it actually meant. Sorry, the word, meaningful food and what it actually meant. I wanted to understand what makes food meaningful, what makes some food meaningful and some other not meaningful. So what I did was literally going in search of meaningful food. And I started this project now maybe 5 years ago, or maybe 6 years ago, where I started to collect videos of people telling the story of their most meaningful food. Many of these videos, you can see them on my YouTube channel, and there's a little playlist called In Search of Meaningful Food. I ended up having, I think, about 200 now stories of meaningful food. And I talked to people from, I don't know, this is Vera from Argentina, this is Miriam from New Zealand, this is Herbrand from the Netherlands, and Kendra from Germany, but she was traveling the world all around. She was in love with weeds. She was telling me how when she sees a garden, she sees a big pot of salad. Marta from Colombia, and Laura from Italy, and Emily from New Zealand as well, and William from Australia. And I have to say, to talk about his story, because he got emotional and managed you when talking about his kangaroo meat cooked on a hot stone in that place that he describes as where the earth meets the sky. So not only meaningful food becomes extremely emotional for people, but it becomes a story and something that becomes embedded into somebody's soul, maybe. So I gathered, I collected, I understood many of the reasons why food becomes meaningful, and I put all these reasons into some of the methods within food design thinking, so that I can say that this process can help food designers trying to achieve. We can never be sure, of course, but it can help food designers trying to achieve meaningful food, trying to achieve propositions that are meaningful to people. 3 minutes, if I can have them, Antonio. So again, you can find many of my stuff on my YouTube channel and on the online School of Food Design. And this was just to let you know where you can find me next if you're interested in my work, if you want to send me emails, and if you have questions and everything. But I actually wanted to finish this talk letting the people who told me about food tell you why I'm in love with what I do.
Like the whole meadow all around is usually like a big pot of salad.
Come se la pizza, cioè il prodotto stesso, facesse un po' da collante con le persone con cui la mangi.
Yes, there was a lot of family that was involved with that, but it was also a type of meal that I only got basically once a year.
What we're doing is we're trading apart, we're leading people into our identity. We're showing them who we are, and we take pride in the exchange of that food.
Ma anche come un simbolo di essere colombiano. Quando tu stai nell'estero e fai arepas, ti senti come a casa.
Smells and tastes just like home.
Cooking is not just take the food and put it in a pan and heat it or bake or do something to it. You have to put love in that as well. It's completely different for me. I can feel the love when it is cooked as on the dish. So.
And it's a food I cannot show you, unfortunately. This food is something I'm sure I will never taste again in my life.
This is not only my favorite food, it means fun, good mood, and fantastic memories of my grandma.
Yeah, so this jar of blackberry jam has a huge amount of meaning.
It embraces my soul.
And it's something I don't think I will forget. It's embossed on my mind. Well, that's it. Yeah.
This is it it from me, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and have a lovely day and happy food design.
Francesca, oye, el vídeo es maravilloso. Muchas gracias, Francesca.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Francesca, por este momento contigo, ¿vale?
Thank you.
A ti.
I'll see you this afternoon then.
Bye.
Ciao.
Chao, chao.